And we're back again. Okay, you know, I was kind of wondering what type of topic I was going to do today, and lately, like I said, I've been getting more into video editing. I said, why don't we just make that a topic? Some of this was a last minute thing, so you know, actually, if the chat participates too, you guys come out with a lot of good topics among those things. And actually, believe it or not, I got a whole page of other things. Okay, this is kind of like show related items, so I figure I go through those. One of the things what I usually do when I'm doing my show is I look at some of the pre-recorded the JTV archives, and I check for quality and things like that. And usually the video quality is quite good. Usually the audio is where, you know, it's not always the best, and I kind of noticing at times the audio might be louder than normal, so I'm kind of playing around with that. And I do use audio compressor, so usually I use a light compression. I'm going to try more of a medium compression like I am now, and hopefully that will even things out a little bit better. Okay, this is another thing. I've been using Linux a long time, and I recently switched to Mint Linux. And for a variety of reasons, I think the new Ubuntu coming out, I think it's 11.04. Maybe you guys can correct me on that. Unfortunately, I've been having some problems with Mint Linux. Some may be related to Flash, but I started using the most stable version. I went back to using a I think Mint uses like a more of a bleeding edge type Flash, but I'm getting random stoppage. Like if I'm watching video in a web browser, it just stopped for a couple seconds. I mean, the audio would still go, and even the mouse would freeze, and then it, you know, after a couple seconds, it'd start up again. And then recently, one of the packages is broken, and I don't know if you guys have used Linux before. You install software in a lot of distributions by what's called packages, and I guess one of them was broken, and a lot of times if it's broken, it won't allow you to update or upgrade your system on a regular basis to keep, you know, update with security issues and new software and things like that. So I finally fixed the broken package, which happened to be Pigeon, but I'm still getting the error message and won't let me upgrade. So I'm like, well, you know, I've been having these little small problems with Mint Linux, so it looks like I might go back with Ubuntu. I'm not saying Mint's a bad distribution. It depends on a lot of factors. It might be the computer itself or whatever. So it looks like I might go back to Ubuntu. I admit I still kind of like it. I'm a little biased. I don't know. And so, you know, a lot of those little problems I didn't really have in Ubuntu. So it's nothing against Mint Linux. Perhaps it's just my computer's hardware is dependent on that. So, and now I know you can go in there. There's like Synaptic. You can go in there and repair broken packages. Now, initially I tried that the first time. It didn't work. So I had to, I did it differently. I went to each individual package and updated it. And until I got into Pigeon, then that's the one that was giving me problems. And I fixed that one, but I'm still getting the error message. So I'm just going to, well, it was other problems as well. So I might try maybe a new distribution, but I think Ubuntu always works for me, so I'll go back with that. Okay, hopefully this is a new thing. Hopefully I don't forget I'm supposed to be a guest on the Ron Knight Show on the 24th of February. The last week or two I totally forgot about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's coming up, and I hope I don't miss his show because my memory is very bad. So I kind of let him know. Maybe hopefully he'll remind me. So he's been on my show once before, so I'm going to return the favor, of course, and be on his show. And recently he had Chris Perillo, I think it was on a Saturday or Monday or something like that. So you might want to check that on his YouTube channel. I watched some of it, but not all of it yet. And now this is more of an update. I kind of mentioned this before, but this is on Google Chrome and perhaps even Chromium, the web browser, that they are not going to be supporting H.264, which is a kind of a compression standard. And it's not really open source. It is kind of like proprietary, which I think they charge people for it like a royalty. So they decided they're not going to support it. I just kind of happened to notice this in Twitter. But if you're using Microsoft, they are going to come out with a Chrome extension to support H.264. Okay, it is only Windows. It is Windows only, which kind of made me mad because I was like, okay, they're only for their operating system. But I think a lot of their stuff is built in, from what I understand, so I can't fault them for supposedly being Windows only because it's some of that portions are built into it. And let me catch up on, I think Wizard just mentioned that as well. It adds capability back in, yes. I did kind of look it up as well. And yeah, trolls are bad. So, and those were kind of my show notes for today. Topic show notes. And I come to the main topic, which is kind of video editing, because I've been trying to do more into it. Because I've found it more of a necessity, because for the show, the intros, the outros, often I record stuff outside of the show and I'll bring it in and show it as a movie clip. I think I done it, what was that, the USS Lexington. I had a Halloween special and I showed clips on that. And so I've been getting more into video editing. It was more of a necessity. So I figure, why not make it a topic? It's actually very interesting. I've also been into audio as well, and video kind of is, even too. And before I go into video editing, I kind of wanted to go into, my choice had something to do with the type of camcorder I use, because recently I switched from, USB camcorders to, USB webcams, to camcorders. Because the video was always unstable, and I wanted something that was stable and wouldn't be affected no matter for different reasons. So I kind of looked at the type. FireWire is a good option. A lot of people use FireWire as webcams. FireWire input is a video input to to Wirecast or whatever they may use, and I kind of debated between that and using the new standard, which is HDMI. And also, some of the older standards usually is like FireWire along with digital video. I can't remember the exact standard, but it kind of uses, I think, tapes right now. But since I was kind of thinking ahead, I was thinking of using a new standard, which is AVCHD. Now I know there's a bunch of pros and cons with that, and I'm kind of getting away from the FireWire type cameras and in the HDMI, and also perhaps with the new standard, because with tapes, you're kind of limited because if you want to put it on your computer, you actually got to run the tape from the beginning all the way to the end, and a few other things. Plus, it's mechanical, more chance for breakdown mechanically. And I've actually known some people that had used a DV type tape, camcorder, and he'd often, I think it was broken, and mechanically wise, he had to take it in for repair a few times. I don't know. It's, I figured I'd try the next standard, which was, HDMI and AVCHD. I believe it's Sony standard, I believe, and which is MPEG-4 H.264. So I just decided to go with that, the newer standard. I don't know if it's a negative. Actually, I do like DV, even the tapes. They're it's pretty good quality. I mean, I've used it before. I guess I'm kind of thinking ahead as well. Now, see, with the inputs, when like I said, I went from, USB webcams. FireWire is a good choice, but it still does use some compression. So with the HDMI, it's pretty much, from what I understand, uncompressed. So you don't have to worry about the computer decoding, like in FireWire. It has to decode it before it can play it. And pretty much you can play it straight off without having to, use more of the CPU intensive type of thing. So that was another reason. So I want to give you, when I'm talking about video editing, you guys can see some of my choices as far as the camcorders go. I figured it'd be kind of beneficial. And actually, there's another thing I wanted to add. Some of the software I've been using, I also use Handbrake. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it is available for all major operating systems, Mac, Linux, and Windows. And I've often used that, and actually I like it because lately I've been using that to convert WMV, Windows Media Video, to because my Macs won't accept it, so I have to convert it over. And Handbrake works really well, and I don't know if you guys used it before, but it's awesome for converting video. And some of my video backgrounds too, I have for blue screen occasionally, and I actually converted that over from that format. So that's another good program to use. My throat's getting a little bit dry, so much talking. Now, of course, I played my intro, which I used iMovie trailers, which is iLife 11. Oh, okay, all these numbers are kind of getting in my head. And that was kind of when I started going more into video editing, because I want to have a pretty good, decent intro. But now, one aspect using video editing is RAM. Now, I do use a Mac Pro for editing right now, and I'm still using the default 6 gigs. And oh my gosh, to put the clips into the intro, I had to I loaded an hour pre-recorded show I had that I downloaded, and oh my gosh, my Mac Pro like choked on it with just 6 gigs of RAM. I was getting a lot of page outs. So I might consider upgrading the RAM. Recently somebody returned the money that they borrowed from me, which is actually probably be enough to upgrade my RAM to 24 gigs. Maybe I'm considering it. Just for when I do edit, video, I don't have to worry about choking on, large files and things like that. So RAM, I guess, does make a big difference. And actually, it'll help other programs as well, because I do use a virtual machine for Linux, and of course, a lot of RAM is going to help and things like that. Yes, upgrade that RAM. And now, I don't know, for most things, 6 gigs are, enough. But occasionally when I get into video editing, so that's why when I put those video clips to my intro, I only use that one show file because I was afraid to load another one, and, it was so laggy and slow. I just used that one show. I had to like grab it from different parts trying to use. I didn't want to load another thing in there and have it choke even more. So that's possibly what I'm going to do in the future. Good possibility. And lately, now I know Mitch said this on his show as well. Now I admit this was kind of an impulse buy. I happened to see one of my many news feeds. This was Amazon actually. They were selling Adobe Photoshop Elements 9 and Adobe Premiere Elements 9 about $100. And I know before if they sell them separately, they're around $80 to $100. And I thought it was a good deal. Now for editing photos, I kind of use GIMP because that is usually more than enough. Oh yes, I did. I'm going to actually go over that, Mitch, and I'll even show you an example. Some of the video I've done already. And now, for editing, photos, GIMP is more than enough for me, but it's kind of nice. There might be some reason to use Photoshop or whatever. It's mainly to get the Premiere elements. Now, I still like iMovie, and I haven't really used iMovie to its full potential, but I figure it's more simple with iMovie. Now, Premiere Elements is a little bit more advanced, and after I read the reviews, it said at times it can get quite complicated pretty fast. Now, when I was using it, I didn't think it was. It's not quite as bad as some of the reviews were making it, because I think it's just the getting used to it, because with iMovie it was more drag and drop, where Premiere I tried to drag and drop, it didn't always work, I admit. There's different ways to do it. Premiere Elements, easy to use. It all depends. Like I said, if you're used to iMovie, Premiere Elements does it a different way. You can't always drag and drop. Sometimes you have to import it differently. And let me see. Oh, I don't know if I showed you. I'm sorry. I don't know if I showed you guys the box. I meant to show you guys that. Everybody likes the pretty box, so I always show the product. They should be sponsoring me right now, but oh well. And actually, let me look in here. Okay, I went over that. It is, I think Premiere Elements kind of takes over where iMovie kind of stops, because iMovie is made for the average user, to make it easy. Just sometimes they just need something simple. You don't need to get the job done. So, and you kind of got to realize that. So, if you go on beyond the capabilities of iMovie, perhaps, then it goes to Premiere Elements, and for a good price. Now, I did talk a little bit earlier in the pre-show about Linux and video editing. I think, as far as video editing, I think Linux is a bit behind. I mean, they do got Kdenlive. They do have some good, decent ones. I think Kdenlive is mentioned. I haven't really used it 100%. Now, Kino is not bad. I have used it with a FireWire camera, and it actually controlled the camera within the software. But there was a software that I was really hopeful to be the next video editing software for Linux, which was Cinderella. I don't know if it's how Cinderella. I'll just call it Cinderella. That's what it really sounds like. And I think Frugal Tech mentioned on his show. I think it was on Saturday. And now before, when I started to use it in Linux, Cinderella, it kind of crashed quite a bit. Now it doesn't really crash, but I think it's still limited in its file formats. I think it uses QuickTime, not necessarily an Apple QuickTime, but a Linux version perhaps. So everything eventually had to be converted over. And I think Kino, you used to be able to convert it to a QuickTime Linux format, and then you could open it up in Cinderella. And some of the things in Cinderella was actually kind of impressive. You could actually port a TV tuner card if record shows and things like that. I never could get it to work, but there's still a lot of work for Cinderella. Plus, installing it's kind of hard. It's gotten better though. Supposedly it's through PPA's packaging system now or something like that. It used to be just Red Hat package or the bond, but now they're using a PPA, I think, which is kind of a hassle. And let me go in a little bit in chat because I don't want to miss your things as well. Okay, I wanted to add a little bit about Linux and video editing in there. And let me go ahead and go back a little bit to Premiere again. There was a few things I was really impressed with it. Exporting, it was a little bit different. There was like tabs, and I went into this. They call it weird. They call it share, but from share you could actually go to you could go to a PC format. You could go to DVD. Which iMovie can't do. You got to export it to iDVD or something like that, but you can pretty much do it within that same program. And now you can actually share like iMovie directly to YouTube. Another thing I kind of noticed with Premiere that it seemed kind of slow and laggy. Now it's probably more to do with user error, I have to admit, maybe, or originally it came out on Windows. I think it was ported over. Often a lot of ported over programs to another operating system can, it's not quite as good as the operating system originally started on. And I didn't actually know it was available for Mac, so. And let me see what else I got here. Another good thing with Premiere. Now, like I said, I do use the AVCHD standard, which for my camcorders, and it can edit it natively, so it means it doesn't have to be converted. Now, that can be a plus or a minus, because in iMovie, it actually converts the AVCHD standard into AIC codec, which is Apple Intermediate Codec. Which is, I think, it's actually less compressed, but it makes it actually, I think, faster by doing that. So it might be that maybe that's why it's been a little bit slower in Premiere. I'm not sure. And now they actually have something similar. I think in Premiere that's something like, they got movie trailers in iMovies. I guess I don't know if they tried to copy iMovie or iMovie copied the other people, but they got something similar. I haven't used it yet. I forgot the exact name of it. I don't know if it's Instant Movies or Titles. No, it's not Titles. No, Themes. Okay, they call it Themes, where iMovies call it trailers. So and okay, somebody mentioned video cards, and that actually has something to do, obviously, with video rendering and things. Now, I know the video graphic cards are great because if you can use the CUDA cores, which is great. ATI is actually a little bit behind on the curve, but they're finally getting something that's called, I think they call it ATI streaming, which would be something similar what CUDA does. And that has something to do with it as well, because if you can implement more of the graphics card integrated streaming CPUs, I don't know what you call it, GPUs, I guess that's the correct term. So what do you got? I mean, how about you guys? What do you edit video often enough, or I'm not sure how Mitch does it, because I know he's got some of his stuff on YouTube, so I'm guessing he perhaps use Wirecast or JTV to upload. So